Ever had that experience, where a company just seems to get you? Like every interaction, it's smooth sailing.
Yeah.
No frustrating hoops to jump through, nothing like that.
Right.
Turns out it's usually not by accident. It's something called customer journey mapping.
Right.
And you'll be surprised to know it's not just for like the big corporate hotshots.
Yeah.
So today we're diving into customer journey mapping, a guide to getting started.
Okay.
We're going to see how this works, and trust me, once you understand this, you'll start to see it everywhere.
Absolutely. I think you are so right. It's actually amazing how many everyday experiences are really shaped by these maps,
Yeah.
And I think the core of it, customer journey mapping, is about empathy.
Okay.
It's like putting on those X-ray vision goggles, right? And being able to see exactly how customers are experiencing a brand.
Okay.
From the very first moment they discover it, all the way, ideally, to becoming like a raving fan.
I'm intrigued, but I gotta say, the term customer journey mapping, it does sound a little corporate-y.
It does.
Can we unpack that a little bit? What does that really mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think a good way to think about it is, imagine you're planning a cross-country road trip.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't just hop in your car and go, right.
Right?
You'd map out your route. You'd figure out where to stop for gas, snacks.
Right.
Maybe even book some cool hotels along the way, right?
Exactly.
So customer journey mapping is kind of like that.
Okay.
But instead of for you on a road trip, it's for your customer's experience.
So instead of rest stops and scenic overlooks,
Chuckles.
we're talking about the company's website,
Yeah.
the checkout process.
For sure.
Maybe even like how friendly the staff is at their store.
You got it. Yeah, it's about understanding every single touch point. And those touch points are any moment that a customer comes into contact with your brand.
Okay.
And just like a smooth and enjoyable road trip is going to make for a happy traveler, you have a well-designed customer journey that's going to lead to happy customers and ultimately a healthier business for you.
Okay, that makes sense. So I'm starting to see how this isn't just, another business buzzword. It's a lot more than that.
Right.
What's the difference between a company that just gets it
Yeah.
and a company that's, well, kind of clueless?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where those touch points that we talked about become really interesting.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, even something as simple as online checkout, right?
Yeah.
A company that gets it is going to have a really seamless, intuitive checkout process.
Right.
Maybe they'll even have a guest checkout option because they understand that people really value speed and convenience.
Right.
But a company that hasn't mapped this journey, they might have a really clunky multi-step process.
Right.
Yeah. And people are abandoning their carts left and right.
I've totally been there.
Yeah.
Getting so frustrated with the checkout process, I just hit the back button and I'm like, I'm done.
Exactly.
So how do we actually create a good customer journey map?
Yeah.
Our source breaks it down into 4 key steps.
Okay.
Reflect, optimize, create, and refine.
Love it.
Kind of like checkpoints on our road trip.
There you go.
What does reflect mean? Like, are we supposed to, light some incense and meditate on our business goals?
Chuckles. Yeah, close, but not quite.
Okay.
This is where you really go deep, right?
Okay.
You dig deep into your company values, your resources, and most importantly, I think, your ideal customer.
Okay.
It's like choosing your travel companions for this.
Right.
So, think about companies that are known for their incredible customer experience.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, say, Zappos.
Right.
They didn't just stumble into having legendary customer service.
Yeah, right.
It was something that was baked into the DNA of the company from day one.
So figuring out in that reflect stage, figuring out what makes your customer tick,
Yes.
their needs, their pain points, that's really key.
Absolutely.
Before you do anything else.
Yeah. And this isn't just a one-time thing. This is an ongoing process.
Okay.
You constantly need to be talking to your customers, analyzing data, looking for ways to improve their experience.
So it's not like you just figure out your ideal customer and that's it. They're frozen in time.
Right. Exactly.
You got to constantly keep learning about them.
Keep learning. Absolutely.
Okay. So we've done our soul searching.
Yeah.
We figured out who our ideal customer is and who we're catering to.
Right.
Next stop, optimize.
Yes.
So this is where we make sure everything's running smoothly, right?
Yes.
If we're continuing that road trip analogy, this is where we're checking the engine,
Yeah.
making sure we've got a full tank of gas.
You're spot on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Optimizing is all about really scrutinizing every single one of those touch points that we talked about earlier.
Okay.
So we're talking about your website, your social media, your in-store experience if you have one.
Right.
And you're just making sure that everything is firing on all cylinders.
Right.
So are your forms on your website easy to fill out?
Right.
Is your live chat actually helpful?
Right.
Are you responding on social media promptly as a brand?
In a way that's on brand.
Exactly, in a way that's on brand.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, the create stage, this is where I feel like it might be tempting to reinvent the wheel a little bit. To
Yeah.
go all out with fancy new features, new solutions.
I know, right? It's easy to get carried away.
So how do we avoid that?
So the create stage isn't about adding like bells and whistles for the sake of it.
Okay.
It's about, okay, now that we know who we're talking to, we've optimized the current experience.
Right?
What are the gaps?
Right.
What are the actual pain points?
Okay.
And how can we solve those?
For something truly new.
With something truly new. Right. So
Awesome.
let's say you're noticing in your data that people are dropping off
Yeah.
at a certain point in the online checkout process.
Right. Okay.
That's where you would say, okay, we really need to figure out why and test some solutions. Maybe it's a streamlined form. Maybe it's offering more payment options, something like that.
So it's all about being strategic and making sure that every new thing you add
Yes.
actually enhances the journey. It doesn't just add clutter.
Exactly. Exactly. Don't just add a jacuzzi to your motel room if your guests are all complaining that the Wi-Fi's too slow
Right.
and that they wish they had a continental breakfast, right?
Exactly. Laughs. And speaking of making adjustments, that brings us to the final step,
Yeah.
which is refine.
Yes.
Because this isn't a set it and forget it kind of deal.
No.
Right.
It's a conversation. Yeah.
How do we make sure that we're constantly refining this?
Yeah. It's a great point. Because just like on a road trip, right?
Yeah.
You might need to take a couple detours. You might need to change your route.
Right.
Maybe you want to switch up the music you're listening to based on traffic or the weather or how you're feeling that day.
The mood.
Exactly. So customer journey mapping is the same way. It should be very adaptive. It should be very evolutionary.
Okay.
It's all about listening to your customers, analyzing that data, and being open to making changes to your approach as you go.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here,
Yeah.
what's the main takeaway for our listeners?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the big takeaway is that all of those incredible customer experiences that we've all had, those ones that almost seem effortless, there's probably a really well thought out customer journey behind them.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, you don't have to be a marketing whiz to understand this stuff, right?
Right.
Like, as customers, we have more power than ever to shape our experiences. And by understanding how companies are trying to kind of guide our choices, we can become much more mindful consumers.
I love that.
And we can really advocate for the types of experiences that resonate with us.
All right, so next time you're blown away by how smoothly a company handles your needs,
Yeah.
remember, it's probably not magic.
Right.
It's probably a well-mapped journey.
Well-mapped journey.
Until next time.
See you later.